Oop.
Start again.
Yep. Welcome back to Crypt Couch. I'm Michael.
I'm Skylar.
And we're about to go into our second Arma fight here, where he has turned green. If you follow us on Twitter at all, like you may have seen the pixel art that I did of a fight between these two guys.
Pretty dope.
You know what? I'm skipping through the dialogue because we did this before, and I realized...
Oh, shit.
Yeah. I think you gave him kind of a sassy southern accent.
There shall be no mercy for this time. Here I go.
So, back to like the verticality thing. So, you know, not to have left it on a cliffhanger about Miyamoto and me not liking Metroid that much. Okay. The concept of Metroid is good, and that's why I think like Super Metroid is good. Bless you. But I think verticality is just hard to implement because it's not...
Come on down here now.
Yeah, right? Speaking of verticality being a pain in the ass, he's also at just the wrong height for me to either jump over him or run under him.
You can only run away.
Yeah, like I need him... What's that?
Do you have a potion?
No, but if I died, it's just going to return me back to, like, I think his... Okay, there we go. Now we got him. Well, maybe. Woo! Yeah, I think I talked about this in the previous ones, too. Like, you can't always read whether he's doing a long or a short dash. Yeah. Man, he is really just up there.
Yeah, it's like something... Especially with your jumps, it's like he'll go higher.
Yeah, well, so when you hit him, sometimes he bounces and sometimes he doesn't. God, that was a shallow one. Fuck.
Right in the face.
That's fine.
You have such a gruesome death when you die.
Yeah, it's really impressive for like Super NES era. Like Capcom got away with some shit that a lot of other games couldn't. Probably because they drove things like Final Fight and whatever drove a lot of like the SNES's popularity, like that and Street Fighter 2.
Okay.
Drove a lot of the popularity of the Super Nintendo. So I kind of wonder sometimes if Nintendo gave them more of a pass on what they could get away with. So verticality is just hard. It's not, we as humans largely move in a horizontal fashion, the way we think is horizontal.
I'm a four-dimensional being, so it's pretty easy for me.
And especially when you're limited, we're all four-dimensional beings.
What?
Time, change.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if you subscribe to like the conventional understanding of the fourth dimension as time and being the thing that changes, it is a bit like, we're not going to get into mathematical dimensions on this. That's way too much for...
Yeah, so anyways, about going up.
Yeah. Like, technically speaking, just because aesthetically Oh, yeah, I forgot about this. Because we think in like moving across the ground styles from a design perspective, like we're going to aesthetically design things in a more horizontal fashion. And just from a real world perspective, you know, climbing up things is effort for us. So our understanding of like how to design verticality, it's going to be lots of like tiers of horizontal things that then you have to ascend or descend through. So it's really difficult to build for that. Here you go.
Can it be? My whirlwind move has been defeated.
Literally, I could just ride your whirlwind over you.
Well, that's not very fair. What are you?
I'm Firebrand.
Goodbye for now, Firebrand.
So you know what I am.
So does he know you're the like red demon or whatever?
I guess. Hey man, you pooped something.
It's a scale.
I'm just gonna pick up the poop.
I ate fish earlier.
You have found the crest of air. It smells like fish. With it, you can morph into a gargoyle and sort.
Wow, what
I know
a
it's
difference.
supposed to be air gargoyle, but yeah.
Yeah. Sorry if I'm sniffly. Oh, I just sneezed.
It's all good. You know, it's fall. Allergies are...
Oh, God, they really are killing me.
But so, like, to design for verticality, you have to... And this is actually kind of a great example. Now that we have this gargoyle, this is so perfect because the hover gives you vertical, but until you get the air gargoyle, you can't do anything with it. Now I can ascend, but what the ascent or descent does is it just gives me a new level of horizontal movement. So like I can just descend to whatever level my attack operates on. It's all really interesting, kind of fakery in a lot of ways. That's sort of just built on psychologically how we navigate the world. Like shoot 'em ups. You know, they tend to put you at the bottom of the screen and move you what looks like upward, right? Like you're flying in kind of an upward fashion. If you're playing a little...
Called shoot 'em ups?
What's that?
I said, is that why they're called shoot 'em ups?
Well, it's because you shoot a lot. You know, it's like a Galaga or a 1942
Yep.
or anything like that. But functionally, like, you could take this game, you could take like Firebrand here and just flip this entire screen 90 degrees and it would be me, like the side would suddenly become me moving up and then like my lift or my descent would become moving left and right on the screen and I would just be shooting upwards. So like functionally, it's not any different. Aesthetically, it is very different.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what like... We talked about this a bit in the Zelda series about how there's a lot of fakery involved with aesthetic stuff, especially when you're restricted to 2 dimensions of movement. Once you get into 3D and you can add that vertical or that Z-axis to everything, that changes a lot of how you can navigate and what you can do. But at the time of the Nintendo, it was hard to do something like that, which is why Super Metroid kind of just feels like you're jumping a whole lot up and down. There's not a lot of like mechanical control. All right, this fucking thing.
Is this the really nasty one, or is this...
This one's a pain in the ass, but it is more of a pain in the ass if you don't have the air gargoyle because it is weak to the air. I think the second one, has more life.
Yeah. I think that was the one that was like getting us stopped up a little.
Yeah. Well, and it was hard to tell like how much of that was fatigue and how much of it was actual.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is already not going super well, but oh man, there.
You can do it. Yeah, actually, weird mantis thing. Just keep doing that.
Right? Like, yeah. Please just keep spinning. There we go. Can hit you multiple times as you. Yeah. See. This one turns red pretty quickly. Oop, that was the wrong button. Okay. Yep.
Nice.
This guy's not a problem.
No, I just there's that boss will make a reappearance to some, or at least a version of him will. And yeah, he was one of the things I got stuck on.
You got the piece of the fire crest called Claw. You can climb up walls. Which we are never going to use because we have the air gargoyle and we can fly and avoid everything that we need to avoid.
I feel like I still remember seeing you climb a wall last time. But...
We did it to show what it did, but we actually had to look up what it... I think it let us climb up spiked walls. I think that's what it was. Because it's not clear from that description what it does. Well, because we had this conversation, I think, where it was like, but I can already, like, hop up walls. Like, why is this special?
That's right.
Oh, shit. And then we have these things, these, like, miserable-looking tree slugs.
Yeah. It's just a real sad caterpillar over here, guys.
I'm a bat.
A headbutt.
So this stage... if you don't have the wind gargoyle, you can't break through, or the air gargoyle, you can't break through these vines. Only the little like air cutter will slash through them. And then we have a secret down here. As I press all the wrong buttons. And
Just gotta remember to headbutt.
as per usual, we need this gargoyle's butt. Get a little look at that, little look-see poo at that.
It is interesting that they did do like just one animation pane for every gargoyle, so you can see it like walking into the door. There is actually like a quality.
Oh shit!
I'm not gonna say a quality of life, but a like level of polish to this game that is, I think, very impressive.
Yeah, and if I remember, we looked it up because this was shit. I shouldn't have come in here.
No.
No, this part is actually easier once you have the water gargoyle.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Oh yes, I'm just gonna let this happen. Go back to. Blah. Every one of these guys has to have their own unique death screen too, because they're unique. So like, there's a lot of detail in this. Sorry, we skipped a thought there just a second ago. This was in development, I believe, and released around the same time as the first Mega Man X, which is also part of the interesting. It goes back into like the verticality, horizontality discussion, which is like, so if they were choosing to play with that on Mega Man X, did they deliberately choose this property to play with what they could do with the kind of like... Sorry, I'm hearing a... I thought there was a weird sound coming from the game, and it's somebody weed eating outside. Okay. It just sounded like this low, long farting sound, and I was like, what's happening?
Hopefully they won't hear it.
I mean, they won't. These mics won't pick that up. They never picked up the dog barking from, like, I think the Mystic Quest videos, so it should be fine. But yeah, like, I wonder if part of resurrecting this as a franchise, because, like, this was not a super well-known thing, you know, like, playing as Firebrand. Ghosts and Goblins was really the... Oh, that's right. Here's everything burning. Ghosts and Goblins was really the, like, driving factor for this character. Like, he was a side character, right? So, like, it's weird for him to have been pulled out in the first place. It's even weirder for this level of quality in the game. Oh, we're going to actually... I know I keep looking like I'm just dying for the sake of dying, but there's a reason for this.
Yeah. Yo, you want to show off the thing?
Well, I want to show off the thing, but it's, you know, you might think that if I die and I hit retry, I don't think I have to leave the stage. I do have to leave the stage. Okay. This is, I promise there's a reason for this. Because it is cool that these trees, they'll go away when we come back here after they've been set on fire, like they have burned down. And that's one of those things where, like, in the Super Nintendo era, you might think this was a glitch. Shit, I selected retry. My brain is just all over the place today, man.
That's how it goes, trying to re-record.
Yeah. Well, actually, in our last recording of this, I forgot to come back here and get something. And that's part of why I'm doing this, because it's going to help me not forget that this time around. But so, in the era of SNES and NES too, like, sometimes this sort of thing might have looked like a glitch, where an environmental object changes, or you pause a game at the, like, I think there's actually in the NES Ninja Turtles, there's a good example of this, where there's a giant mouser you have to fight, and you can't attack him until his mouth opens up. And then there's like the weak points exposed for just a little bit of time. But if you pause the game at the right moment with, like, I think you have to use Donatello because he's got the longest reach on his weapon. If you pause the game as you, like, stab upward with his staff to hit it, it screws up the game's code a little bit, and the weak point won't actually disappear. So you can keep hurting the mouser even through its mouth, because the sprite doesn't go, oh, damn. Okay, I guess we got to actually, like, get to the boss. That's okay.
Long story short, the forest is burnt down.
Yeah. So, but you might actually think at some point that, like, oh, this was an accident, right? Like, the forest, you know, the forest is just supposed to stay on fire, and maybe they fucked up and the sprite layer disappeared or something. But there is actually a there is actually a health node that is hidden up there. And so you have to come back through, and like the thing is all burned down. And I think especially like at this stage of game development, it's really easy to assume, or it's easy to assume that something might be a bug or unintentional, because you're used to seeing, say, like NES games have that problem. And it's not necessarily intuitive that that would have been deliberate all the time. And even after this, you know, it's not like that's it's not like that's guaranteed. Like sometimes it still was a bug. So here's our fire guy, who he's fairly, I believe he's also weak to the wind. He's fairly simple until the very last phase. He can get a little weird.
Well, because doesn't he like transition into?
Yeah, he transforms, and actually, the forest will burn down before you finish, because I think if you die on him, the ceiling does go away, and it's actually a lot easier to deal with him when you can have all of that extra space above. Like this, you can fly above it, and it's way easier than having to run back and forth. And when he does like that shit, you can just fly up and not worry about it.
Bye, Felicia. He does have like a very grim face in that little fireball.
Yeah. I mean, the sprite work in this game is... Capcom, we've said this before, Capcom's sprite work is always like super on point, but they really upped it in this game in a way that like they didn't have to for such a no-name property. There we go.
Got him.
We did. And we get another piece of the fire crest that we're not technically going to need because
oh,
this one puts little tornadoes that you can jump off of, but since we can fly upward, we don't need it anymore. You're not really supposed to have the air gargoyle form at this point.
I like that it's at least an avenue, though. I mean, that's always fun when you have, like, you know, I'm not gonna say non-linear, but like you have branching paths that you can choose how you want to put it together.
Yeah, because like, you know, that boss is technically like made a lot easier and is weak to the air gargoyle. And clearly, like, you're supposed to come into this stage and not realize, like, or not necessarily know why you can't get past these. So you can come here with the air gargoyle, but, you know, again, like, that was the hidden vortex that you had to jump down to get that. So you might easily come here without it and have to figure that out. And so this might actually be useful to you if you didn't know that that was where you needed to go. Anyway, next time on the Crypt Couch, we're going to go pick up that health and then go do some other shit.